Hi readers, welcome back to my channel, Lila Wanders and Reads. Lee here, and had a bit of a stumble. I'm not sure what that was about. Anywho, welcome to my weekend books. This week I read 3 complete books, and I started a book that's kind of a chunky monkey, so I won't be finishing it this week, but I will tell you about it once we get to that part, and I'll stop making noise and messing with things on my counter. Anywho, I am doing a project where I'm reading all the books on the Booker long list, the Booker Prize long list. There's one that has not been published yet, so I won't get that until it is published. And there are 2 more that I have on order from Blackwell's. They're on the way, they just haven't made it yet. But I started last week and I read Universality. Right now I'm going from shortest to longest. That could change. But this week, I started the week with Audition by Katie Kitamura. This is a book that has been on my radar, but I chose not to read it earlier because I didn't think I would find it interesting. But I did find it interesting, and I'm glad that I read it now, going into it with the mindset that I want to be open to everything that the Booker Prize long list has to offer. I know when I did this project last year, I did not read all of them, but some books I really liked and some books I really did not like, but I felt like it stretched me as a reader, and Audition did as well. This is one I want to reread. I felt like I was right on the edge of getting it, and if I read it one more time, maybe I would, or not. One Woman. The Performance of a Lifetime, or 2. 2 people meet for lunch in a Manhattan restaurant. She's an accomplished actress in rehearsals for an upcoming premiere. He's attractive, troubling, young enough to be her son. Who is he to her, and who is she to him? In this completely readable, brilliantly constructed novel, 2 competing narratives unspool, rewriting our understanding of the roles we play every day: partner, parent, creator, muse, and the truths every performance masks, especially from those who think they know us most intimately. I really enjoyed this novel, and if it makes the shortlist, which will be announced, I think, September 23rd, I may go back and reread this then. We'll see. It's to read 13 books between now and the end of September and pepper them with other books to kind of cleanse the palate is a bit of a goal, so we'll see. Anywho, thoroughly enjoyed it. I recommend with all the Booker books, I have looked up a little bit, not spoilers, because you can't really spoil this, but spoiler-y things so that I could, come up prepared to the book. And glad I did it with this one. Anywho, so after that, I needed kind of a cleanse, and I chose to read Funny Story by Emily Henry, and I think this is my favorite Emily Henry book. I laughed. One time I think I put the book down and just threw my head back and laughed. This was so funny. This Funny Story was funny. Daphne always loved the way her fiancé, Peter, told their story. How they met on a blustery day, fell in love over an errant hat, and moved back to his lakeside hometown to begin their life together. He was really good at telling it, right up until the moment he realized he was actually in love with his childhood best friend, Petra. Which is how Daphne begins her new story, stranded in beautiful Waning Bay, Michigan, without friends or family, but with a dream job as a children's librarian that barely pays the bills, and proposing to be roommates with the only person who could possibly understand her predicament, Petra's ex, Miles Nowak. Scruffy and chaotic, with a penchant for taking solace in the sounds of heartbreak love ballads, Miles is exactly the opposite of practical, buttoned-up Daphne, whose co-workers know so little about her they have a running bet that she's either FBI or in witness protection. The roommates mainly avoid one another until one day, while drowning their sorrows, they form a tenuous friendship and a plan. If said plan also involves posting deliberately misleading photos of their summer adventures together, well, who could blame them? But it's all just for show, of course, because there's no way Daphne would actually start her new chapter by falling in love with her ex-fiance's new fiance's ex, right? If you like rom-coms, this is one. It has a bit of unresolved trauma separate from the exes ditching them, but from their childhood. And a couple years ago, if I had read it, I would have been taken aback because it was unexpected. It would have been then unexpected and kind of traumatic. But I've read Abby Jimenez now, so and more authors, so I really appreciated the way they kind of resolved that trauma and explained how it manifested in their daily lives and relationships. After that, went back to the Booker Prize long list and I read Love Forms by Claire Adam. The Booker Prize judges said that this was like listening to a conversation in another room. For me, I felt like it was more like it was listening to someone tell me their story. And it was gratifying and satisfying and comfortable. Even though parts of the book are, don't make you comfortable. For much of her life, Dawn has felt as if something is missing. Now, at the age of 58, with a divorce behind her and her two grown-up sons busy with their own lives, she should be trying to settle into a new future for herself. But she keeps returning to the past and to the secret she's kept all those years. I've lost myself. At just 16, Dawn found herself pregnant, and, as was common in Trinidad back then, her parents sent her away to have the baby and give her up for adoption. It's really kind of traumatic, the way they do that. And you're with Dawn as she relives this. More than 40 years later, Dawn yearns to reconnect with her lost daughter, but tracking down her child is not as easy as she had thought. It's an emotional journey that leads Dawn to retrace her steps from Trinidad to Venezuela to London, and to question not only that fateful decision she made as a teenager, but every turn in the road of her life since. It's a very kind of quiet book. I really, really appreciated it. And I do recommend it. I would not have picked this up had it not been on the Booker long list. And I had been thinking about what to read next, and then I went to my hair appointment. And my stylist told me about a series that she and her husband are reading together. And that series is called the Cinder series by Jim Butcher. I have been buying and not reading fantasy for years now because I'm a bit of a commitment phobe. Like, fantasy is a commitment. It almost always comes in series, very rarely in standalone. But because that's part of the fun is being able to go back to that world again and again. And I started The Aeronauts Windlass on Thursday. Today's Saturday, but I know I will not finish it before Sunday, probably, because I'm not even at the halfway mark yet, and I've been reading it since I read it Thursday night, Friday night, and I am probably going to go sit back down and neglect some chores and read this a little bit more than I would on a normal Saturday. It took me a couple chapters to get into this, but once it kicked in for me, I'm like, that's what I want to do. I want to sit down and read this and fall into this world. If you've read this or anything else by Jim Butcher, please let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. If you like fantasy, I do recommend this if you haven't read it. Since time immemorial, the spires have towered over the world. Within their halls, aristocratic houses have ruled for generations, developing scientific marvels. They have not developed any marvels, to my knowledge. Fostering trade alliances and building fleets of airships to keep the peace. Captain Grimm commands the merchant ship Predator, fiercely loyal to Spire Albion and fighting in the Cold War with Spire Aurora. It ain't cold anymore. But when Predator is severely damaged in combat, Grimm is offered a proposition from the Spire of Albion to join a team of agents on a vital mission in exchange for restoring Predator to its glory. And even as Grimm undertakes this dangerous task, he will learn that the conflict between the Spires is merely a portent of things to come. Humanity's ancient enemy, silent for more than 10,000 years, is stirring, and death will follow in its wake. This is, if you can't tell from the description, a bit steampunky, and then it's got airships and this whole Spire world. And like I said, it took me probably 2-3 chapters to get into it, but I am really enjoying it. For me, when it comes to fantasy, world building is important, but character building is equally as important, if not more so. And I, from page 1, fell in love with some of the characters, and it's just growing and growing and growing as I get introduced to more of them. Loving this book. I will let you know what I think about it next week, because it will be the first book I talk about for my weekend books next week. Anywho, that is all. I've had a good first week of August, and hopefully the month just keeps getting better. If you've read any of these books, I'd love to hear from you down in the comments, and if you stuck with me this long, as always, thank you for sticking with me on my journey, and happy reading.